Joining us now, our first guest of the day. Typically, it's a Matich Monday, but it's a Matich Saturday. Trevor Matich, ESPN college football insider, expert, analyst, BYU national champion, and Nashville resident. Welcome to the show, man.
What's up, Trevor?
And welcome to my home.
Yes.
Welcome to Nashville.
Yes.
This is fun, man.
Yeah, this is a great place. I mean, it's no longer a well-kept secret, especially after the NFL draft a few weeks ago. I mean, people talked about who the star of the draft was, what player, what NFL team. No. The star of the draft was the city of Nashville.
Amen.
The energy, the passion, they turned out. And you know what? When the draft is over, they spill into all the places and listen to all the music. This is an awesome part of the world.
Now, you've performed, have you not? Musically?
Yes, I have.
Here? Where was it?
As a matter of fact, at a place that a number of big stars got their start, at the Bluebird Cafe.
Yes, the Bluebird.
The Bluebird Cafe?
I sang 2 original songs at the Bluebird Cafe. And
Did you on the guitar?
Yes, but it was open mic night. And so the only talent you need is not to sing well, play well, or even write a good song. All you need to do is be able to write your name on a piece of paper and throw it into a basket, and then you get to sing. And so I was so worried going into that because I'm not a musician. I can't sing, I can't play, I can't write. And my philosophy is if you know you can't sing, then sing. Sing joyfully, make it happy,
Yes.
right? If you can't sing but you think you can, that's where the problem lies, right? So I knew I couldn't sing. But by the time my name got pulled out of the basket, there were so many people that were so much worse than me that I felt really good about what I was about to do.
All right, well, we'll probably try and drive by the Bluebird Cafe.
Yeah, we'll drive by. We're probably not going to sing, but yeah.
Yeah,
No. Write your name on a piece of paper. If you don't, I will. And now, the song stylings of the duo, Spencer and Jeremy.
Yes. And we've been to Hattie B's for some hot chicken.
Nice.
And we had the really, really hot chicken, which was probably a bad decision.
We can't even say the name on the air, I think, on
Wow.
BYUtv.
Wow.
That kind? I don't know if
Yes.
That hot.
Anyway,
Yes.
Yeah.
Been to the Grand Ole Opry. What else do we need to see while we're in Nashville?
You need to go everywhere there is music. There's a section, we know about Broadway. There's a section called the Gulch, which is kind of down into the left a little bit. And it's another great place. But what you want to do is just poke your head in. My favorite place here is a place called Tootsie's.
Okay.
This place is not about the appearance at all. It's not about pretension. It's not about fashion. It's about music. And it's small. And it's got one little stage downstairs and one little stage upstairs. I like the upstairs one because that's where they play rock and roll.
Okay.
Downstairs it's
Okay.
usually country, which I'm fine with too. But, I mean, the local music that gravitates all over the place, but especially to Tootsie's, is astonishing. Now, you guys, were you at the Ryman yesterday?
We were at the Ryman.
What were
yes.
you doing there?
At the Grand Ole Opry?
Yeah. Oh, you're at the Grand Ole Opry.
We were at the
okay.
Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah. Okay. Good. The Ryman Theater is where the Grand Ole Opry used to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and it is right across an alley from Tootsie's. And so the big stars, the Johnny Cash and Rosemary Clooney, the biggest stars used to perform at the Opry, and then cross the street, have a few beverages, and play at the Opry for free during their break, or excuse me, at Tootsie's for free during their break. Then they cross back to the Ryman and do their paid gig again. and Willie Nelson and Patsy Cline wrote "Crazy" at the bar at Tootsie's.
Wow.
They were just there. Hey, Willie, what are you thinking? I don't know. And they wrote "Crazy" there, and it's still right there. Tootsie's is an amazing place now. They do sell soda pop, juice, and they will give you a water for free.
That's important for our kind.
Yes. And so I enjoy Tootsie's.
Some rock and roll and soda at
Yeah.
Tootsie's.
That's right.
Okay, it's on the list. Great stuff.
Okay, let's talk football. So
Okay.
BYU football starts with 4 Power 5 opponents. Of course, the first one's Utah, Tennessee, USC, Washington, 3 of 4 at home. BYU's the only team in the country to start with 4 Power 5s
Yeah.
in a row. That's going to be a challenging first 4.
Yeah, challenging for a lot of reasons. One is that those are really good teams. Another is that it's physically punishing to do that. And BYU in the past, when they've started that way, has built up a bunch of injuries that then made a difference later on in the season. I think that 2017 season, which we will not speak of
We
in
try not to
specific
talk
terms,
about it, Trevor, yeah.
that was a big part of it because they lost so many guys. And so if they can stay healthy, the thing about this BYU team is that I think they're competitive enough to be competitive in all of those games if they stay healthy. Now, winning them would be unbelievable, right? But I think they'll be competitive in all of them. And so they, with a chance to win. Now, the thing that fans need to understand is that if they come close but lose them all, does that mean they're bad? No. I think this BYU team will take a step up in their performance on the field. This will be a better BYU team than it was last year, and it will be clearly better. But the schedule shakes out so that it might not be apparent until we get into the middle of the schedule.
Which of those first four, Utah, Tennessee in Knoxville, 3 hours away from here, USC or Washington, is the most winnable of those 4 Power 5 games?
I'm thinking that the most winnable would be USC. The reason is, first of all, they're coming up from sea level, as is Washington, by the way. But their quarterback situation at USC is unsettled. They are rebuilding on both lines of scrimmage, and they're coming up to altitude. And people that think that that doesn't make a difference, they've never flown a small plane. Because when a small plane's up in altitude, it doesn't have as much power because there's not as much oxygen going into that engine unless it's turbocharged, and that gets into other stuff. And USC coming up there, it's going to be an environment that they are completely unaccustomed to. And I think that BYU on the offensive line will be very experienced and very productive. The defensive line will be really hard to run against. And I think that they will more than be a match for what USC will put out there at the line of scrimmage. And then I think at quarterback, I believe that Zach Wilson will be more productive in September than whoever the USC quarterback will be. Now, USC has advantages as well. They're extremely athletic in the skill positions. But I think that BYU has enough advantages that they could pull this thing off.
I feel like emotionally the fans and even the team to some degree is really all in on Utah in that first game, which is great, right?
Yeah.
But what I feel like might get lost in the shuffle, and we've talked about this, is at Tennessee is the next week. I mean, that's going to be a big game, and most of these fans are going to be at that game.
Right.
It's going to be huge at Rocky Top. We can't forget, hey, at Tennessee the next week, right?
And if you've ever been over 100,000 people in that stadium, that is one of the great atmospheres in all of college football, Knoxville, at Tennessee, Neyland Stadium. And it's all orange, right, with occasional splattering of white. But there will be a blotch of blue up there that'll be awesome. And I'll tell you, that'll be the loudest group in the stadium if BYU gets a lead and keeps it, right? That Tennessee game is really interesting as well, though, because Tennessee is also rebuilding. And their big questions are on both lines of scrimmage. Their offensive line will be amazingly talented. They've got 2 5-star freshmen coming in this year who will probably start at both tackles. They've got a transfer coming in from Alabama who will be starting at center. But what this will mean is that Coach Tuiaki, the defensive coordinator, will need to put together, and Coach Sataki as well, stuff that will confuse freshman tackles. And they can do that. And that's one of the things that BYU needs to come up with. Who will be the pass rushers? We'll have a chance to really show what they can do against Tennessee. And so the Tennessee Volunteers, they're growing. They're doing better. Last year, they beat 2 ranked SEC teams on the way to having a much better season. But once again, BYU won't get pushed around on the line of scrimmage if they stay healthy. And if Zach Wilson at quarterback can be the guy that can make plays that we haven't seen made from the quarterback position on a consistent basis since that New Orleans Saints kickoff coverage guy, Taysom Hill, then I think BYU has a chance to be really competitive in that game and could pull it off, could win it.
Now, Zach Wilson's coming off an 18 for 18 performance in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
And so now the standard is set. If he has an incompletion, he's benched.
Are you buying the hype for Zach Wilson approaching his sophomore season?
Yes, I am. I am absolutely buying the hype. Now, what is the hype? When BYU fans look at nostalgic hype, they're talking about strings of All-American quarterbacks and Heisman Trophy contenders, right? So let's not put that on him just yet. But all he has to do is improve from not very good to pretty good. Because not very good has been the level of production, not necessarily the level of talent or the level of effort. But because of injuries on the offensive line, but especially at the running back position, because of receivers that were really growing as a group and learning how to play the game with a lot more fight, the quarterback position wasn't able to maximize itself. And I think that Zach Wilson has the ability in terms of arm talent and moxie to be able to perform at a high level. But if his offensive line stays healthy, then he'll have better protection than we've seen in recent years. If the running back position can stay healthy, they don't need a superstar there. All they need is you got a little scorpion here. Let me get that.
Oh, thank you.
For people watching on TV.
We're in the South.
Yeah, Jerem had a creature there.
I'm not used to that in Studio B.
He was about to bite you in the neck, and you would have made a noise that you did not want to go out on the radio. So, the running back position has had epic injuries. But if they can just stay healthy, they'll have a rotation that'll be effective. Receiver, though, that position has a chance to go from one that has made me turn purple with frustration to one that should be a huge strength. Because now, last year, for the first time in a long time, we saw multiple guys fight for the ball. Too often, before last year, we saw the ball come down towards a receiver, and there's a defender there, and if the ball landed where the receiver was, he'd try to catch it, and if it didn't, oh well, there's a defender. No. It's a fight for the ball. That's my ball or no one's ball. And it has to be a junkyard dog going after the last bone in the yard every time that ball comes down. And we saw that more out of guys last year. And those guys are now the leaders of this team. All but two of the main receivers from last year are back, along with All-America candidate, I believe, tight end Matt Bushman. And so when you put all that stuff together, he doesn't just have one go-to receiver now. He's got a bunch of guys that can do stuff, and if Bushman continues to grow, and if Aleva Hifo continues to grow, then it means that the quarterback, Zach Wilson, will have better people around him than any BYU if they stay healthy, any BYU quarterback in recent memory. And that will maximize his capabilities as a guy that has already shown that he's got the moxie and the arm talent to get things done. I'm excited for this season.
As are we. Great stuff. You fired us up.
That's right.
We'll be back in the state in 112 days for BYU at Tennessee.
And
so.
you guys mentioned that barbecue back there. Here's what I want you to do as an example of the receivers. It's your ribs or no one's ribs.
Go and fight for that. Get the junkyard dog going,
Love it.
man.
Let's go.
Okay.
Good to see you, Trevor.
Thanks for having us
in
man.
Nashville.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Welcome to Nashville.